It started on an ordinary Tuesday morning. The skies above every major city on Earth suddenly filled with massive ships, their dark hulls blocking out the sun. They appeared without warning, without any prior signals or communication attempts. The first message from the alien vessels came through every electronic device on the planet simultaneously. Television screens, phones, computers, and even digital billboards displayed the same message. To the primitive species of Sol 3, designated as humans, the Galactic Council has determined your world holds valuable resources necessary for our expansion. Submit to our authority within 48 Earth hours or face immediate extinction. Resistance is not advised. In the United Nations Emergency Assembly in New York, world leaders gathered in unprecedented numbers. The usual political rivalries and old grudges were set aside as humanity faced its first extraterrestrial threat. They expect us to just hand over our planet. General Roberts slammed his fist on the conference table. The veteran military commander's face was red with anger. Without even a proper introduction, President Thompson of the North American Alliance leaned forward in her chair. The question is, do we have any chance against their technology? Those ships are bigger than anything we've ever built. The room fell silent as Director Wilson from Global Defense stepped up to the podium. His gray hair and weathered face showed years of keeping the world's biggest secrets. Ladies and gentlemen, there's something you need to know. We've been preparing for this day for the last 30 years. Gasps filled the room as hidden screens descended from the ceiling, showing underground facilities across the globe. Massive hangars housed sleek spacecraft that looked nothing like public space programs had ever revealed. After the Roswell incident in 1947, Director Wilson continued, world governments secretly agreed to prepare for eventual alien contact. We've been reverse engineering recovered technology and building our defenses ever since. The public space programs were just a cover. The assembly erupted in shocked murmurs. The Chinese premier stood up. Are you saying we can fight back? Wilson nodded slowly. We've developed shields that can withstand their energy weapons. Our own ships are smaller but faster. Most importantly, we have something they don't expect. The element of surprise. But surely they've been watching us. The Indian Prime Minister questioned. They must know our capabilities. That's the beauty of it. Wilson smiled. Everything they've seen has been carefully crafted. The satellites, the space stations, even our military exercises, all designed to make us look less advanced than we are. We've been hiding our true strength for decades. The Russian president laughed. So when they see our old rockets and basic satellites, they think we're an easy target. Wilson finished. Exactly. The Council's ultimatum gave Earth 48 hours. The leaders used that time to activate hidden defense systems worldwide. Military personnel disappeared into underground bases. Civilian governments prepared their people for what was coming, all while maintaining a facade of panic and disorganization for their unwanted visitors to see. High above Earth, on the Council's command ship, Supreme Commander Axis watched the planet with disdain. His scaled skin shimmered under the ship's lights as he observed the humans scrambling below. Pathetic creatures, he muttered to his second-in-command. They waste their time with emergency meetings and pointless military exercises. Their primitive weapons can't even reach our ships. Should we perhaps give them more time? Supreme Commander, his assistant asked. They seem truly unprepared. No, Axis replied coldly. The Council's decision is final. Their planet has resources we need. If they won't submit willingly, we'll simply take what we want from their ashes. Little did Axis know, deep beneath Earth's surface, humanity's real military force was awakening. In hidden bunkers across the planet, advanced fighters powered up their engines. Weapon systems far beyond what the aliens believed possible came online. The humans had a saying that would soon become famous across the galaxy. Don't judge a book by its cover. The Galactic Council was about to learn this lesson the hard way. As the 48-hour deadline approached, Earth appeared to be in chaos. But behind the scenes, humanity was ready. The Council thought they were dealing with a primitive species that would easily submit to their demands. They were about to discover just how wrong they were. The underground facility stretched for miles beneath the Rocky Mountains. Director Wilson walked through the gleaming hallways, his footsteps echoing as he approached the main control center. Behind the reinforced glass windows, rows of technicians monitored Earth's hidden defense grid. "Status report," he commanded, entering the control room. "All systems ready, sir," replied Commander Adams, a tall woman with short gray hair and a battle-hardened expression. "The aliens still haven't detected our stealth satellites or the defense platforms. They think those old ISS pieces are our best technology." On the massive screens before them, red dots marked the positions of the Council's ships. They had moved closer to Earth, preparing for what they thought would be an easy conquest. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, another secret base hummed with activity. The underwater hangar held rows of sleek spacecraft, their black hulls absorbing light like liquid shadows. These weren't the clumsy rockets the world showed to the public. These were warships, built with technology decades ahead of anything the aliens believed Earth possessed. Remember when they found that crashed scout ship in Brazil back in '92? Commander Adams smiled. Their own tech turned against them. Ironic, isn't it? Director Wilson nodded. They never even noticed it was missing. Too arrogant to think we primitives could salvage anything useful from it. The facility's intercom crackled. "Sir, the Council ships are moving into attack formation. They're targeting major cities first, just as we predicted." Above ground, panic seemed to grip the world's populations. People rushed to shelters, militaries rolled out outdated tanks and aircraft, and governments made desperate pleas for mercy. It was all part of the plan. Supreme Commander Axis watched from his command ship, satisfaction evident in his cold eyes. "Look at them scramble like insects," he sneered. "Their pitiful attempts at defense are almost amusing." His tactical officer approached with a report. "Sir, we've detected their primitive nuclear weapons being moved. Should we neutralize them?" "Let them try," Axis laughed. "Their missiles can't even penetrate our basic shields. Begin the attack sequence. Show them the price of defiance." The first alien ships descended toward New York City, their weapons charging. The humans below could only watch in apparent helplessness as death approached from above. Then everything changed. Hidden panels in buildings, mountains, and even the ocean floor slid open. Advanced defense turrets emerged, their barrels tracking the alien ships with perfect precision. The primitive satellites suddenly shed their fake casings, revealing state-of-the-art weapon platforms. "What is this?" Axis roared as new signals flooded his sensors. Where did these defenses come from? Before he could react, the first shots were fired. Earth's hidden weapons released streams of concentrated plasma, the same technology the Council used but refined and improved. The alien ship shields, calibrated for crude nuclear weapons, failed against their own technology turned back on them. 3 Council battleships exploded in rapid succession over New York. Similar scenes played out across the globe as humanity's true military might was finally unveiled. Impossible. Axis stumbled as his ship shook from a direct hit. These creatures, they tricked us. In the underground command center, Director Wilson watched with grim satisfaction. "Launch the interceptors," he ordered. "Show them what humanity's really capable of." From hidden bases worldwide, Earth's secret fleet took to the skies. The ships were smaller than the Council's massive vessels, but far more maneuverable. They darted between the alien ships like angry wasps, their advanced weapons tearing through surprise defenses. "Sir," Commander Adams reported, "the Council fleet is falling back. They're requesting reinforcements." Wilson's expression hardened. They came here expecting to find an easy target. Instead, they found a species that's been preparing for war since before they knew we existed. The aliens retreated to high orbit, their fleet in disarray. What was supposed to be a simple conquest had turned into a military disaster. Humanity had not only survived their first strike, but had struck back with devastating effect. As emergency signals flooded the Council's communication channels, one message became clear: Earth was not the primitive world they thought it was. The real war was just beginning, and humanity was ready. Supreme Commander Axis stood before the Galactic Council's emergency hologram meeting, his scales pale with rage and humiliation. The Council members' projections flickered as they listened to his report of the failed invasion attempt. These humans, he spat the word, they deceived us all. Their primitive appearance was a carefully crafted lie. They have weapons that match or exceed our own. The Grand Counselor, an ancient being with crystalline features, leaned forward. This is unprecedented. No species has ever hidden their true technological level from our surveillance. We cannot allow this insult to stand, another council member declared. Send in the main fleet. Crush them completely. High above Earth, the remains of the first invasion force regrouped. Axis had lost nearly 40% of his ships in the initial engagement. As he prepared to launch a second attack, his sensors detected new contacts approaching at incredible speed. Defensive positions, he roared. But it was too late. Earth's counterattack began with a devastating display of tactical superiority. The human ships emerged from hyperspace practically on top of the alien fleet, their advanced targeting systems already locked on. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, Director Wilson watched the battle unfold. Execute Operation Thunderstrike, he ordered. Commander Adams nodded, transmitting the attack codes. All ships, you are clear to engage. Show them why you don't corner a human. The Earth fleet struck with precision that shocked their alien opponents. Human ships dove between the larger Council vessels, exploiting blind spots in their defenses that centuries of unchallenged supremacy had left vulnerable. How are they predicting our movements? Axis demanded as another of his ships exploded. It's impossible. What the Council forces didn't know was that humanity had spent decades studying the salvaged alien technology. They hadn't just copied it, they had improved it. Earth's ships carried advanced AI systems that could predict enemy tactics based on countless simulated battles. The space around Earth lit up with weapons fire. Council ships, designed for fighting at long range, found themselves overwhelmed by human vessels that closed to point-blank range. The aliens had never encountered enemies willing to fight so aggressively. Sir, Commander Adams reported, the enemy fleet is splitting up. They're trying to regroup near the moon. Director Wilson allowed himself a small smile. Spring the trap. Hidden bases on the moon's dark side suddenly powered up. Artillery installations, built in secret over the past 20 years, opened fire on the retreating alien ships. Caught between Earth's fleet and the lunar defenses, the Council forces began to crumble. Supreme Commander Axis watched in horror as his command shields failed. This is impossible. We are the Galactic Council. We cannot be defeated by savages. The human ships showed no mercy. They had studied the Council's weakness well, their overconfidence. The aliens relied too heavily on their advanced shields, never expecting an enemy to have weapons specifically designed to bypass them. In the heat of battle, something unprecedented happened. Several Council ships suddenly turned their weapons on their own fleet. The aliens weren't the only ones who could hack communication systems. Enemy fleet is in full retreat, Commander Adams announced. 70% of their forces have been destroyed or disabled. The rest are jumping to hyperspace. Director Wilson activated the Global Command Channel. All Earth forces, hold position. Secure the disabled alien ships. We're going to learn everything we can from them. As the battle ended, humanity had achieved something no species had done in 10,000 years. They had defeated a Council invasion force. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. In the Council chambers, the news of the defeat spread like wildfire. The Grand Counselor called for an emergency session. This changes everything, he declared. These humans, they are unlike any species we have encountered. Back on Earth, Director Wilson stared at the tactical display, showing the retreating enemy ships. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "Phase 1 is complete. Begin preparing for Phase 2. Commander Adams raised an eyebrow. "Sir, are we really going to take the fight to them?" "They came to our home and threatened our people," Wilson replied grimly. "Now they'll learn why that was a terrible mistake. The Council thought they were the hunters. They're about to become the hunted." The massive Council space station orbiting Proxima Centauri was considered impregnable. For thousands of years, it had stood as a symbol of the Council's power. No enemy had ever dared to attack it. Until today. The station's commander was reviewing routine reports when the alerts began blaring. "Multiple ships detected," his sensor officer shouted. "But that's impossible. They appeared out of nowhere." Earth's stealth fleet had just dropped their cloaking devices. 20 warships, painted in midnight black that absorbed all sensor signals, emerged like ghosts from the void. They had been sitting there for hours, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Director Wilson's voice crackled through the encrypted comm channels. "All ships, commence Operation Shadowfall. Show them humanity's reach extends beyond our solar system." The human vessels struck with devastating precision. Their first targets were the station's communication arrays, cutting off any chance to call for help. The Council's defenders scrambled to respond, but they were caught completely off guard. "How did they find us?" the station commander demanded. "How did they get past our detection grid?" He never got his answer. The station's shields, designed to stop direct attacks, proved useless against Earth's new phase shift torpedoes. The weapons simply passed through the barriers as if they weren't there. On the bridge of the Earth flagship, Vengeance, Admiral Turner watched the battle unfold. "Status report," she ordered. "Station defenses are down to 30%, her tactical officer reported. "Their ships are launching, but they're disorganized. They've never had to fight a real battle here." That was humanity's greatest advantage. The Council had grown complacent after millennia of unopposed rule. They had forgotten what it meant to face an enemy who fought with nothing to lose. The space around the station became a graveyard of Council ships. Earth's vessels moved with impossible agility, their AI-enhanced crews executing maneuvers that the aliens had never seen before. "Ma'am," a communications officer called out, "we're picking up transmissions from inside the station. Some of the civilian species are asking for terms of surrender." Admiral Turner nodded. "This was part of the plan, too. Broadcast the message we prepared. Let's show them we're not the barbarians the Council claims we are." The message went out in all known alien languages. "This is Earth Command. We have no quarrel with civilian populations. Evacuate to the designated safe zones. We are here for the Council, not you." The effect was immediate. Several sections of the station began powering down as their inhabitants chose surrender over fighting for their Council overlords. Meanwhile, Earth's special forces were already boarding the station. Teams of highly trained soldiers, wearing advanced-powered armor, moved through the corridors with ruthless efficiency. Their primary target, the station's data core. "Team Alpha has reached the central computer," the ground commander reported. "Beginning data extraction. You won't believe what we're finding, Admiral. The Council's been hiding things from everyone, not just us." The station's commander made one last desperate attempt to stop the humans. He ordered his remaining ships to initiate a suicide run on the Earth fleet. But the human ships were ready. Their point defense systems, reverse-engineered from Council technology and improved, shredded the attacking vessels before they could get close. 3 hours after the battle began, it was over. The Proxima Centauri station, one of the Council's most important outposts, was under human control. Admiral Turner opened a channel to Earth. "Director Wilson, Proxima Station is secured. The data we're recovering, it's going to change everything. The Council's been lying to the entire galaxy for centuries." In his command center, Wilson smiled grimly. "Good work, Admiral. Begin Phase 2 of the operation. It's time to show the rest of the galaxy the truth about their so-called benevolent rulers. As Earth's engineers began retrofitting the captured station, news of the victory spread quickly through subspace channels. Other species under Council rule watched in amazement. The humans hadn't just defeated the Council's forces, they had done the impossible. They had brought hope to a galaxy that had forgotten what freedom meant. The Council's Grand Assembly Hall, usually a place of ordered procedure and quiet submission, had descended into chaos. Representatives from 100 different species shouted and argued as the news of Earth's victory spread. "How could primitives defeat our most secure station?" demanded one counselor, his tentacles waving in agitation. "They were never primitives." Another shot back. "The Council lied to us about Earth, just like they've lied about everything else." The Grand Counselor banged his crystalline gavel, trying to restore order. But the damage was done. The data Earth had retrieved from Proxima Station was now spreading across the galaxy, revealing centuries of Council manipulation and deceit. On a distant mining world, the insectoid workers watched recordings of Earth's victories with their compound eyes. For generations, the Council had forced them to extract resources, claiming it was their natural place in the galactic order. Now they saw another way. "The humans resist," clicked their hive leader. "Perhaps we can too." Similar scenes played out across Council space. Species that had been subjugated for millennia began questioning their masters. The Council's carefully maintained hierarchy was crumbling. In a secret meeting on a neutral world, Earth's ambassadors met with representatives from various resistance movements. The room was secured against surveillance, protected by human technology that the Council couldn't detect. Ambassador Reed, a veteran diplomat, addressed the gathered aliens. "We've proven the Council can be beaten. Their power was built on lies and fear. Together, we can end their tyranny." A reptilian resistance leader named Cross spoke up. "But how can we trust you won't become just like them? Power corrupts, as your own species says." Reed activated a hologram showing Earth's proposed plan for a new galactic alliance. "We don't want to rule. We want partnership. Every species free to develop in their own way, working together as equals." The evidence from Proxima Station supported Earth's claims. Records showed how the Council had deliberately held back technological development, keeping species dependent and afraid. They had even destroyed civilizations that grew too advanced too quickly. Meanwhile, the Council's military was facing its own crisis. Many ship crews, learning the truth about their masters, began refusing orders. Some even defected, bringing their vessels to Earth's growing alliance. Supreme Commander Axis, now disgraced after his failures, faced execution for his defeats. But before the Council could sentence him, he escaped, taking with him files that proved the Council's inner circle had been manipulating even their own people. "The humans didn't just beat us with weapons. He transmitted on all frequencies before disappearing into deep space. They beat us by exposing our lies." Back on Earth, Director Wilson reviewed reports from across the galaxy. "The Council's empire is fragmenting faster than we expected," he told his staff. "Their own arrogance is destroying them from within." Commander Adams studied the tactical displays. Their military is down to 60% strength. Most of their subject worlds are in open revolt. "But sir, doesn't this chaos risk destroying everything?" Wilson shook his head. "Sometimes you need to break something completely before you can rebuild it properly." The Council's system was rotten to the core. In the following weeks, more and more species declared independence from the Council. Earth's ambassadors worked tirelessly, helping to forge new alliances and trade agreements between former enemy worlds. The Council tried to maintain control through fear, threatening to destroy any world that defied them. But their threats rang hollow now. Everyone had seen how Earth's supposedly primitive humans had shattered their invincible image. In the Council's Grand Assembly Hall, now half empty as more representatives abandoned their posts, the Grand Counselor faced a bitter truth. Their perfect system, maintained for thousands of years through careful manipulation and controlled fear, had been undone in mere months by a species they had gravely underestimated. As reports of more defections and rebellions flooded in, one fact became clear: the age of the Council was ending. A new era of galactic history was beginning, sparked by a small blue planet that had refused to submit. End of Part 5. The Council's capital world, Primaris, had never known fear. For 10,000 years, it had been the center of galactic power, protected by the most powerful defense fleet ever assembled. Its crystalline towers reached into the clouds, symbols of unquestioned authority. Now those towers trembled as alarm sirens wailed across the planet. Multiple hyperspace ruptures detected. A Council defense officer shouted, It's the humans. They're here." The Earth fleet emerged from hyperspace in an attack formation never seen before. Instead of appearing at the system's edge as expected, they jumped in at point-blank range, inside the defense grid's minimum effective range. Director Wilson stood on the bridge of humanity's newest flagship, Redemption. "All ships, execute Operation Endgame. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth." The human vessels struck like lightning. They had studied every weakness in the Council's defenses, every flaw in their tactics. The capital's shields were designed to stop bombardment from afar. They never expected an enemy to hit this close. Impossible. The Council's defense minister watched in horror as Earth's ships performed maneuvers that defied conventional space combat doctrine. Their ships should tear themselves apart at those speeds. What the Council didn't know was that human pilots were interfaced directly with their ships through neural links, another innovation they had developed in secret. Where alien crews relied on computer targeting, humans could react with instinct and intuition. The space around Primaris became a graveyard of Council ships. Earth's fleet moved like a swarm of angry wasps, striking from impossible angles, vanishing and reappearing through short-range jump drives that the Council had deemed too dangerous to use. "Their defense grid is collapsing," Commander Adams reported from her tactical station. "Ground batteries are offline." "Sir, we're receiving surrender signals from multiple Council installations." But the Grand Counselor refused to admit defeat. From his fortress beneath the capital city, he activated the planet's final defense, a superweapon that could destroy whole fleets. "If we fall," he declared, "we take them with us." The weapon powered up, its energy readings climbing to catastrophic levels. But Earth had planned for this too. Special Forces teams, infiltrated months ago disguised as maintenance workers, had already sabotaged the device. When the Grand Counselor pressed the activation crystal, nothing happened. "Sir," an officer reported, "human forces have breached the inner defenses. They're inside the fortress." Earth's soldiers moved through the Council's stronghold with practiced efficiency. Their armor, enhanced with captured alien technology, made them nearly invulnerable to standard weapons. But they weren't just fighting. They were broadcasting everything. Across the galaxy, billions watched as humanity's forces exposed the Council's lies. Hidden vaults revealed records of suppressed technologies, evidence of manipulated species, and proof of countless atrocities. The Grand Counselor made one final attempt to rally his forces. "We are the rightful rulers of the galaxy. We bring order to chaos." His speech was cut short as the fortress doors burst open. Director Wilson himself led the final assault, his armor scarred from battle. "No," Wilson replied. "You bring slavery and call it order. That ends today." The battle for Primaris lasted just 6 hours. When it was over, the Council's capital had fallen. But Earth's forces showed mercy in victory, protecting civilians and maintaining essential services. "Attention all Council worlds," Wilson broadcast. "The Council's reign is over. But this is not a conquest. This is liberation." As the dust settled, representatives from Earth's alliance began arriving on Primaris. They came not to loot or destroy, but to build something new. The Grand Assembly Hall, once a place of oppression, would become the founding site of a new galactic federation. The Council's fall was not just a military victory. It was the end of an era. Humanity had not only defeated the most powerful empire in known space, they had changed the very nature of galactic civilization. As the sun set on Primaris, Director Wilson looked out over the city. "Send word to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them it's done. The galaxy is free." 1 year after the fall of Primaris, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The former council chambers now hosted the first Galactic Federation Assembly, where representatives from all species gathered as equals. Director Wilson, now serving as Earth's representative, stood at the podium addressing the gathered delegates. The chamber looked different now. Gone were the elevated platforms that had placed council members above others. Everyone sat at the same level. "A year ago, we fought for survival," he began. "Today, we build for the future." The changes were visible everywhere. On formerly oppressed worlds, new technologies flourished as Earth shared its innovations freely. The Council's practice of keeping species dependent through restricted technology access had ended. In orbit around Primaris, ships from 100 different worlds moved freely through space. The Council's strict travel restrictions had been replaced by open borders and free trade. Many vessels display both their own world's flag and the new Federation emblem, a symbol of unity and diversity. The trial of former Council leaders will begin next week, Commander Adams, now Chief of Federation Security, reported. But more importantly, the rehabilitation programs are showing amazing results. She pointed to data showing how formerly antagonistic species were now working together. The Council had maintained power by keeping their subjects afraid of each other. Without that fear, natural cooperation emerged. On a mining world that had once been stripped bare by Council demands, human engineers worked alongside local species to implement sustainable practices. The insectoid workers who had toiled for generations now owned shares in the operation. "We're finding something remarkable," a Federation scientist announced during the assembly. "When species work together freely, we advance faster than any of us could alone." The Council didn't just hold us back politically, they stunted our cultural and technological growth. The former Grand Counselor, now awaiting trial, watched bitterly from his detention cell as his empire transformed. "You don't understand what you've done," he told his guards. "Without our control, the galaxy will collapse into chaos." But chaos never came. Instead, a new order emerged, not imposed from above, but grown naturally from cooperation and mutual respect. Earth had become a symbol of hope across the galaxy, but humanity was careful not to repeat the Council's mistakes. When some suggested that Earth should lead the Federation, Wilson firmly refused. "Leadership should rotate between all member worlds," he declared. "No single species should dominate the others. That's the mistake we fought to end." The Federation's first major test came when a previously unknown species made contact, expecting to find the Council's empire. Instead, they found a thriving alliance of equals, ready to welcome them as partners rather than subjects. "The humans taught us something vital," a reptilian delegate explained to the newcomers. "True strength comes from unity freely chosen, not unity forced by fear." In the great universities that now shared knowledge across species, students learned how a single planet's resistance had triggered a revolution. But they also learned the deeper lesson, that the Council's greatest weakness had been its own arrogance. On the anniversary of the final battle, ships from every Federation world gathered around Earth. It wasn't a military display, but a celebration of freedom. The fleet's lights spelled out a message visible from the planet's surface. "Thank you, Earth." Director Wilson watched from his office window as the lights danced across the night sky. Commander Adams joined him, carrying reports from across Federation space. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" she asked. Wilson smiled. "When we first fought back, we just wanted to survive. But we ended up doing something far more important. We showed the galaxy that change was possible." As dawn broke over Earth, news arrived that the last holdout Council worlds had requested Federation membership. The old order was truly gone. In its place stood something new, an alliance of free worlds working together toward a future brighter than any single species could create alone. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest weapon hadn't been its ships or its tactics. It had been hope. Hope that things could be different, that tyranny could be overcome, that cooperation could replace control. That hope, more than any weapon, had changed the galaxy forever.